This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, church. I have the honor and privilege to be with Pam Davis. Pam is the president of our United Methodist Women's Group and someone that has been an active follower of Jesus for many, many years. We're thankful for not only the gifts that Pam shares at our local church, but she's involved in district leadership and also greater than district. She has been a leader in Mission U, which is something that United Methodists from I think really across the nation, if not across the globe, can participate in. It's a neat way that she has been able to share her gifts and graces with the church. But today we wanted to talk a little bit about small groups. And we as a church are embarking in the month of August on some new ways for us to grow in Christ online. And with that, I learned that the United Methodist Women have been ahead of us for the last 3 months. They have been meeting in a small group on a weekly basis of 8 to 10 women that have been talking about the Wesley questions, the same questions that we've been exploring online over the last 17 or 18 days. So I thought it'd be real neat for this week's Pastor's Pen if we heard a little bit from Pam Davis, a little bit about what the United Methodist Women have been doing. Again, we're hoping to start these Wesley groups for connection, accountability, and prayer starting in the next 2 weeks. And Pam, first of all, welcome. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
Thank you.
And secondly, I would just love to hear, and I know the church would love to hear, about what the United Methodist Women have been doing over the last few months.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Pastor Marcus, for this opportunity to share with you and with the congregation. And tonight, I'm basically going to briefly share some of the history and then take you to what we've been doing the last 3 months. You know, the United Methodist Women is one of the most authorized organizations of women in the United Methodist Church. The United Methodist Women is an organization of women that seeks to create a community of women with a very specific purpose. And the women of the church are effectively what we call ourselves the engine of mission for the United Methodist Church. Through its organization, our women gather for community to study and create action issues and avenues that will change the lives of women, children, and youth in the community and all around our world. The women through the circles that meet in the local church on a regular basis encourage women to study and enhance their individual lives of faith through reading and personal study. They encourage women to gather in local and regional groups to be a force for change in the injustices that permeate our society. You know, the United Methodist Women has led the church for over 50 years in its Charter for Racial Justice policies. And as the church has struggled to find a path to racial justice, United Methodist Women have forged a path together. Whether we're Black, whether white, brown, red, and yellow, we claim a community that proclaims and lives justice for all. You know, Pastor Marcus, this kind of justice can only be created if we are to find ways to change the basis of our society. And United Methodist Women have been at the forefront of this effort in the world church, our nation, and our local church. We do not do this through mere words alone. We seek to proclaim God's justice through women, youth, and children by changing our lives and reactions to the systemic issues of injustices in race, gender, ageism, and class. And the United Methodist Women recognize through our study and community experience that it's just not enough to proclaim that change, but we must truly live the change.
That is a great overview of really what and who the United Methodist Women, not only who you are, but really what you've been involved in on a scale for the last 150 years. Pam, tell me specifically, hearing that, you shared with me that over the last 3 months, you have started an intentional small group looking at the Wesley questions, the same questions that we're going to be looking at as a church. Tell me a little bit about why you decided to do that, and then maybe walk us through what's been going on for the last 3 months.
Great. Well, it's very important to connect during this time. And I'm really excited about the Wesley small group opportunity that we have here at First United Methodist Church. Especially during this time of pandemic, we're seeking ways to reach out to others. And as president of the United Methodist Women, we have, having served in the local district conference and national levels, we all are very focused on ways that we can fulfill our purpose of knowing God in nurturing our members and being that supportive community. As a lifelong Methodist, I've learned that Wesley, the founder of the United Methodism, developed years ago the Wesley Covenant or accountability groups. And these are a way that we increase our knowledge of God and be in our community to dedicated people. We are accountable to each other, and in our gathering, make a difference in our lives. And it's important to share in a group setting with accountability. The United Methodist Women have always tried to do just that. We have been involved in Bible studies, mission studies, geographic studies, and we've raised our consciousness to social action. And being in these studies allows women to do what they do best. You live with a family of women, and what do they do best? They love to talk. And then we study and we reflect. We use our talents to make a difference in the church community and in the world. And as United Methodist Women, we have been meeting using a variety of virtual platforms way back since the beginning of the pandemic, from meetings, social activities, planning events, and most recently, we celebrated Christmas in July and were able to raise funds for our Florida Children's Home. But we realized way back last spring that in this time and under these conditions, online gatherings were an effective way to gather for worship, for our Bible readings, our studies, a time for reflection, and just a time for us to get together as sisters, answering the call to check in with each other and be sure to be that supportive community as we continue to nurture each other in the faith. The United Methodist Women has a reading program, a study book. It's entitled The Wesley Challenge, 21 Days to a More Authentic Faith. And it was based on Wesley's principles, and the questions challenge us to live the Wesley life. The book was presented as a way for individual women to become more familiar with the Wesleyan tradition of personal piety. And initially for myself, well, it was one of my reading program books. I read that for personal enrichment. But after having read this, I felt it would be great to use in a small group. However, I could not personally give this book to everyone, because we were quarantined, but I could share it through a Zoom type event. We gathered interested persons and discerned a time and a day that would best meet the opportunity to meet, and the rest is just success.
That's great. That's something very, I think it's encouraging to me to hear that we have lay people in the church that have already been going through this journey. I think it's encouraging to the whole church to hear that this isn't something to be scared of, but it's something that will allow us to connect with one another. The format that we're looking at is similar to what you said, Pam. The format we're looking at is we'll meet for about an hour or so, and we're going to start online until we can get back in person. For the first 20 so minutes, we're just simply going to connect with one another, and that could be just asking each other how your day's gone, how your week's been, what's new with your child or grandchild. Then we're going to spend about 30 or so minutes very intentionally looking at one of the questions and having a little bit of discussion, maybe a little digging deeper into what this question means to each of us. And then we're going to end with about 10 minutes of prayer, just as a way of learning that in a covenant community, when we gather, we connect, we talk, we learn, but then we can pray for one another. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that we can give to one another in these groups. So you've been doing this for almost 3 months. Can you think offhand of a blessing that you've received through this experience over the last few months, Pam?
Oh, I think the whole event has been a blessing, because one of the many joys or blessings is that we've experienced is knowing that we each have a time that's set aside to come together for fellowship and study. It's always a time with excitement that we can look forward to seeing who's on the group and maybe inquire about other people that are maybe not, and share like you talked about during that first portion of the time together. And so we begin our study with prayer or scripture. We then reflect on the chapter's theme based on the questions. And each person during the prior week received an overview of the chapter along with Wesley's reflective questions and a challenge. And I think that's important. What is going to drive us forward as we move through this next week? It drives us to be more committed and to follow Wesley's challenge. It's not mandatory, but we do stay in touch throughout the week with emails and responding to the assignment. We share our joys and our concerns that way. And we've shared leadership in this group with persons taking on various needs of our gathering. At the beginning, we had people that had never been a part of our church. That was really a blessing to join us. They came to us. This was an exciting experience to meet someone new. We welcomed them in the love of Christ, and they've shared their reflections pertinent to the study, along with needs and prayers, and we've really gotten to know them. Personally, for me, I can't wait until this aftermath of the pandemic is over to personally welcome them, embrace them, and say, it's truly been an amazing joy having you with us. And it's with an exuberant spirit that I feel we can actually come together each week. You know, I look forward to our group sharing and discerning God's call. And now I feel I can personally call them sister. It's really been truly amazing. And I look forward to each gathering of our Wesley group, which encompasses, like we said, approximately 10 people from various backgrounds. We have one of our members of our church who I consider a hero. She's one of our nursing professionals out there on the front line. And she wanted to participate. And she said, though, due to her schedule, she's not always able to join us, except in spirit. But we managed to keep her informed through emails and let her know what we're talking about. And lastly, one of the challenges that we have of this group is we ensure that we support each other and each member by enabling them to help us join us on Zoom each week. You know, initially we included talking to them through the process of virtual meetings. Even when one of our members, who's in her late 80s now, she considers herself a pro, and at the district level, everybody knows her name. And that's wonderful. And that's our own Jane Dent. Initially, we said, we can do it. We all had a very positive attitude. If children can get on Zoom through their schools and do their work, then we as a church can do this too. It doesn't take it takes courage and it takes several tries, but you can get in and you have people that can help you once you're there. And I actually call all of my ladies in this group Zoomies. So I'm so proud of our Zoomies that we've been ready to try something new, make it happen. It allows us to study and learn as we set aside time when we can come together. We've even had meetings when we're across the country. We had time zone differences that we needed to deal with, but they simply clicked on the link like you gave me today. I logged in, and it was fun seeing their surroundings and their different settings. They were in the mountains, a beautiful forest, unlike the landscape like we have here in Florida. And it's also a joy to welcome all of our Wesley group every week into my home, whether I be wearing this or whether I be wearing my pajamas, whether I have, you know, a cup of my cold drink in my hand or something to share. It's always an inviting time.
That is, I really thank you for sharing, for just giving us this glimpse of what you and some of the United Methodist women have been going through over the last 3 months. I'm excited about these small groups because I think it's going to allow us to find a new and what I'm thinking even a more permanent way to connect with one another. There's a possibility when we get back to worshiping in person that we might have to take a break again. There's always that possibility.
Sure.
And with these online groups, if we start online, then it's very easy to get to a place where we can go in person. But if we then have to go back online, we'll be able to do that. And I just think everything right now, we're changing how we connect with one another, but I think we're realizing the importance of connection. Even though we're not physically in the same room, Pam, just seeing your face, seeing you smile, hearing you talk is a blessing. It reminds us that as the body of Christ, we are connected. I read a quote by Leonard Sweet. He actually put it out on social media today. And the quote was this. He said, the church is learning how that we're not to ask what can Jesus do for us, but what can we do for Christ? I think these small groups are us taking the initiative to do something for Christ. And that is to grow in our understanding of who God is in our life, and to grow in community with one another. Because the more of us that participate in these small groups, the more of us that connect with one another, the bigger and deeper bonds that are formed. And I believe that we grow in the love and grace of Jesus Christ through these disciplines. So thank you, Pam, for sharing.
Absolutely.
And I wish you Godspeed in your group as you continue. How many more weeks do you have as far as a meeting at this point?
We're just about a little bit more than halfway. So we've got 2 months still to go. And I would just like to, what you shared with Leonard Sweet, I think that's very important. We've heard that from a former president saying, what can you do for your country, but what can you do for your God? I think that's important. And I just want to personally invite all the women of the church to participate in virtual United Methodist Women's events, especially take the opportunity together to be in a church-wide Wesley Covenant group, because you're truly going to be enriched and blessed in this venture, in alignment with the church mission statement to make disciples for the transformation of the world. And I really thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you tonight. It's been a blessing.
Well, and finally, Pam, just one more little promotion for United Methodist Women. What is your Facebook page? I know you post on that page regularly. What's the name of that group, just in case anyone would look for it on Facebook?
Absolutely. It's Boca Raton United Methodist Women. Just put that in your search engine. We have over 60 some members, maybe 65 members that are a part of that. And we have people from New York in it and people from across the nation, Texas and things that respond. And there's lots of information that we provide, and feel free to anyone that wishes to post something that they can feel free to share as well. We welcome it.
Boca Raton United Methodist Women on Facebook Church. That'll help you connect with Pam and some of the neat things that they're doing as one of the important groups in our church. Thank you again, Pam. God bless you, and just thank you for your opportunity to share this evening.
Great. Thanks so much, Marcus.